So one of the things that microboards do is that everything we do is with an eye on the future. So we're not just planning for today or next week or next year. We're always thinking, how is this going to be sustainable in 5 and 10 years' time? How is this going to stand up when parents are no longer there? So look, microboards do whatever needs to be done. And I'm just going to share some stuff that my son's microboard does, but it's designed to be a highly person-centred and tailored model that does whatever's required for the person or wanted by the person and their family. One of the first things is including the person in their own lives and networks. I will say this is a not negotiable of microboards. So if you're joining a microboard, this will be in the Constitution and it will be something that you agree to, so that you include the person in your life and you're introducing the person to people in your networks and in some way including them in the things that you do. It doesn't mean that we're asking people to go out of their way. What we're saying is find something that you have in common with the person that you can enjoy with them, because it's primarily a relationship-based model. Microboard members need to be in close relationship with the person and make that commitment to know them well and to care about them and their well-being. So for example, Coral was on Eli's microboard for the first few years. She's taking a break at the moment, but one of the things she did was to say, well, we love going to the footy. Eli's never been to the footy. Why doesn't he come to the footy with us? And Eli started going to football with him every week. And 8 years later, he's a passionate footy enthusiast, which I am not, but he is. And he's really well known down at his local footy club. And that's something that would never have happened if one of his microboard members hadn't been thinking about how they were going to include him in their networks. And he's made friends. Yes, you can.
Thank you. Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean that your microboard members have to take them out on their own without support. So you can have a support worker go along too. That's what I do. Or we have weekends where the microboard plans a weekend for Isaac. It's called A Weekend with Isaac. And support workers and microboard members come to the house and they do a load of activities that Isaac loves together. Because Isaac needs some personal care that the microboard he doesn't feel comfortable with his microboard members providing the personal care, but he's okay with the support workers doing it. So, you don't have to have. You're not expecting microboard members to take it to support your child unsupported without a support worker there. But often they get confident after a while and they go, you don't need the support worker. That sometimes happens too.
We end up needing medical support. Not for any particular reason, just Eli seems unlucky like that. So we believe that no one with a disability should ever be left alone in hospital. There should always be an advocate with them. So the board members, if there's a hospital visit or an emergency visit or a hospitalisation, come and one of them might come with us, or they come and spend time with him in hospital and learning how to advocate for him and his communication and consent and keep him safe in hospital settings. So that's a bit of a long-term project. But a couple of years ago, Anita, who's on the left there, said to me, he was in hospital for a week, and she came and said, "You're going to go home and I'm going to do the night shift tonight. I've had a child, I know how to do a night shift, and I got to go home and have a sleep." So that was really cool, and I was able to trust her. My son can't speak, so one of the things that Coral, who also loves footy, likes to do when she's watching footy on the TV, when she's not actually at the footy, is to print and laminate pod books and visual resources. And that's something she enjoys. Microboards can fundraise, and lots of microboards do, and ours decided a couple of years ago. We've got quite a mature microboard. We're in our 9th year now. So it's not necessarily something you do in the first year of having a microboard, but when they were planning, they said, we'd like to all go to the Gold Coast together and take Eli and go to Dreamworld and all those places he'd never been. And everyone saved up, but we needed some money to pay for big vehicles for all of his equipment and wheelchairs and all that kind of stuff. So Jason, who's on the microboard, works for Coles. He asked Coles if we could do some sausage sizzles. They said sure, because it was one of their staff and there was a personal relationship. They donated the sausages and buns, and we raised, I think, $1,500, which helped to pay for some additional vehicle hire while we were away. That was kind of awesome. They help with problem solving. So on that trip, that the idea was, would Eli like to go on a roller coaster? That's tricky because of his impulsiveness and seizures and all kinds of things. So what everyone did, and it was huge fun. It was really good. They tried out all of the rides and figured out which ones appeared to be safer or easier for him, and everyone got together and said, yeah, I reckon you could have a go at this one, if we do this and this and you sit there, and we talked to them, and so we sort of had this levelled thing where he went on some easy rides, and we gradually got up to the point where he went on a roller coaster, not one of the scary ones, but just for us, going on a roller coaster was a huge deal, and he really loved it, and I managed to get through the experience without dying of anxiety. Some of the role is just checking in. So this is Eli's friend Liam, and he's the vice chair of Blazing Condor Soul Explosions Incorporated, which is the name Eli chose for his microboard. And he comes and checks things, and he recently he'll come and go and drop in at the house unannounced to say hi and make sure everything's going all right, and if he has concerns, he'll come and let me know, or let the rest of the board know that we're worried about something, if the hygiene of the house falls below a certain standard, which is what mothers all seem to worry about when our kids move out of home. Safety is a really important part of what microboards do, because we believe in dignity of risk and really stretching the boundaries, but you can only do that if you've got a really solid foundation of risk management and safety. So we've got a member on our board who's actually a volunteer with the local state emergency service, so he helps us with all of our workplace safety and risk management planning and all of that kind of thing, so that's kind of happy. And we share him around too. Like if a microboard's got someone that's got a strength and they're happy to share within the microboards community, we share them around. Okay, so the role of the microboard is really to work with the person to create and sustain and also be accountable for the quality of the person's life. And they seek to be a strategy, I guess, to answer all of these questions that we have, which are worries for parents, I guess, that when we're not here, who's going to do all of these things and take responsibility for them. Okay, so Cherie's going to talk a little bit about Isaac's band and work.
Okay, so this is the structure of Isaac's, the people in Isaac's life and how they all relate to the microboard. So you can see up the top, that box there is the band, and you can see that there's members and what their roles are and who they are, and the lines represent any relationships with other things in the document. And the love hearts mean it's done around Isaac's interests and needs, and with love and with a great relationship happening there. So Isaac has a small social enterprise. So Isaac's Band of Brothers and Sisters also trades as Isaac Delivers. We have the microboard supports Isaac's friends. And helps think about strategies for how we're going to go about finding more friends and strengthening the relationships between his existing ones, and how we're going to deal with finding people from the past that he's lost touch with, and how we might bring those back in, all of that sort of stuff. Housemates, so we've had, last year we tried Isaac living in another house every second weekend with some people just to see how that went, and the microboard helped with the planning of that, all of that, and helped evaluate it at the end, what worked, what didn't. One of the microboard members lived just up the road, so she'd walk down there and have a chat with them. These were young people that had never moved out of home before, and so we're trying to learn about that, let alone having Isaac in the house. So they needed to support around rostering chores and how to get Isaac involved and that sort of stuff. So she did that because she just lived up the road. And then there's the employees, and so I've got a team of support workers and a fitness coach and a lifestyle coordinator, and the lifestyle coordinator helps me with a bit of the admin stuff. And they report to Isaac's Band of Brothers and Sisters, so we have shift reports that we collate and read through, and the microboard raises issues and concerns and talk with the staff, and the staff can raise their issues and concerns and talk about great things and celebrate things that have happened. And we've got the plan that we've put together as a microboard, so they help me with all the planning and the vision and how we're going to achieve it and what his goals would be. They come along to NDIS meetings with us and help talk with the planner and answer any questions. And we have an accountant or a bookkeeper. We've switched from an accountant to a bookkeeper just recently, who helps with payroll, and I can do it too if needs be, and I'm teaching another person how to do it, so trying to build in that redundancy if someone falls over and breaks a leg and can't work, then there's someone else that can do it. We're trying to do that all the time. And Isaac comes along to Isaac's up here in the corner, but he's really the centre of everything, and he's involved in meetings. And when I say involved, firstly, he didn't want to be in the same room. He would hide in his room. And eventually he started to come out and join in. And now he's welcoming people and opening the door for them, and he'll bring out the water and he'll sit with us and then wander around the room and come and sit. And we'll make some visual supports for him afterwards, after the meeting, to help him understand what we were talking about and see what he thinks and talk to him about it, so that we're not just making decisions without his involvement. And that's taken a lot of time to get him more and more involved. So that's kind of how it looks. So what are the roles and responsibilities of members? So there are some legal obligations of members. So you do need to do some annual reports. So every incorporated association needs to has these same obligations. It depends on your state, of course. There'll be slight variations, but these are the general ones. So annual reporting, so you'll just put in a report that says, here's what we've been doing this year and here's what we've achieved. When you can repurpose other things like your NDIS review reports, and you can reuse stuff for that. You don't have to start from scratch, and we collect information as we go throughout the year that we can put into that. You need to keep meeting minutes, as I've mentioned before, and financial records and a members register. So if you are in Victoria, or you would look up that website. If you're in New South Wales, you'd look up, you just Google Incorporated Associations New South Wales, and it'll come up with the government authority on what you have to do and the forms you need to fill in and what the rules are in your state. Oh. Okay, so these are the things that we expect microboard members to do. So we've talked a little bit about them already, but they're very important that they uphold, that the members learn about these things, what they are, what they mean, and otherwise you can imagine if you have an incorporated association around you that doesn't understand person-centred planning, doesn't understand what inclusion is, doesn't understand what the dignity of risk is, doesn't understand person's ability to self-determine and assuming capacity and all of those sorts of things, a microboard could actually do a lot of harm. So incorporation is not what makes a microboard, it's all of that other stuff that you've got to embed in the constitution and in your members, and how they go about doing things is very, very important for the safety of the person. So the role of the microboards members is and in actually what they do in the work that they do is flexible. Some folks are just quite strategic thinkers, and they'll just come to a meeting and give you a few ideas, and that's what they do. Other folks might be really great at keeping great minutes, and that's all they do. Someone else might really love to network in the community, and that's what they do. Someone else might like to hang out with Isaac and take him to the car wash. You know, that's something else someone does. So, you know, it is flexible in terms of you don't have to take Isaac out if that's not what you want to do. There might, whatever your talents and skills and gifts are that you want to contribute, because we have this great volunteering nation of people that want to help. They don't know how, and this is just one way of going about contributing to a person's life, and you just work with them and what they feel that they want to contribute. So sometimes you get that person that comes along to the meetings and they say nothing for a few months, and then suddenly they come up with an idea that's a game changer. You know, it's still a valuable person to have on your board, and you need to celebrate that and let them know that they are contributing. Sometimes we myself and Jackie, we have members that take on a portfolio. They say, yeah, I'd like to take care of that aspect of Isaac's life or Eli's life. You know, so one lady on Isaac's microboard wanted to manage the home stuff, so she had the home portfolio, and other stuff around communication. There was another ex-support worker that's on the microboard that's really good at the communication stuff, so she'd do lots of research around finding videos to support the support workers, to train them in how to use Isaac's pod and that sort of stuff. So you can have people taking on portfolios, they can volunteer to do that. You don't go up and say, right, you're responsible for health, you're responsible for... It's around what they want to do and how they want to do it. So microboards can assist in emergencies, as Jackie said, and they can also set up a little business and apply for grants and all of that sort of stuff. So getting started, how do you start? One thing you'll probably feel if you haven't got a circle of support, and a lot of people feel this, I certainly did, is asking for help is very countercultural. We're all meant to be individuals that can stand up for themselves and do it themselves, and asking someone is an imposition, and we shouldn't be doing that. It's rude. And that makes us very anxious and fearful of asking for help. But how can the community learn to be inclusive if they're never given the opportunity to help? How can they learn to be part of someone's life if they're never asked? How can we have this inclusive society where we all are expected to do stuff on our own? So it's really kind of up to us to ask. We've got to go out and ask, and don't be fearful about asking. What's the worst thing that can happen? They say no? Move on. Yeah? Ask the next person. Who should be on the microboard? People you like and trust, or will commit to creating a good relationship with the person with a disability. And between 5 and 8 people, which we've talked about, and to keep it energetic and moving but not overwhelming with too many people. Who can't be a member, people with a criminal record or have been bankrupt. So who do I ask? People often say, I don't know anyone, and it can sure feel like that, can't it? I certainly felt that way. Oh my God, who could I possibly ask? So some of the strategies, and there are many, many more, is looking through your Facebook page or your address book in your phone or on the paper one if that's what you've got, and just looking for people and just making a list. And you're not thinking about people that you would ask for to come on a microboard. What you're doing is just looking for a list of people that you could ask over for a cup of tea. Just a cup of tea and a chat. That is all that the first step is about, is who do I get over to have a cup of tea and a chat. And this whole asking thing is a long-term process, because if I went up to one of you and I said, right, I'd like you to be the treasurer of my microboard. It's going to be, you need to commit for 12 months and you need to keep all the financial records. Will you do it for me? No. That's right. No way, Jose, I'm out the door. So there's a lot of gradualness in this, and building relationships and trust and giving people the experience of what might be like, so that the next step is for them, and they often do, is say, you know, I could do that, I could do that next thing. So taking a gradual approach, getting to know people if you don't know anybody, getting to know them, getting to see if you like and trust them, and getting to a point where you feel comfortable to invite them over for just a cup of tea, not a microboard member, not signing them up. And asking in small steps, little steps, cup of tea first, just talk about what's going on with your person's life, take notice of what people say, take notice of the people that really seem keen, talk about your ideas, your vision for their life, and that's always inspiring. People love to hear about the vision, and that's what gets them in and involved. And then you can say, hey, do you want to do this again? You do that a few times, and then you can start talking about this idea of a microboard, and maybe plant that seed, just keep talking, just doing it very, very slowly and building it up. So thinking about, this is a great tool to start with. Where are the places that I go each week and with my son or daughter, or where does my son or daughter go? Who do they know there? And writing it down and just keeping a list all the time.
I guess just to kind of finish up to say, microboards are a very grassroots and ground up way of building things. So a lot of us, when we start thinking about microboards, think with our rational brain, I guess, who's the smartest people to get involved, but who's got the skills and all of that kind of thing. But if we want to build something that's sustainable in the long term, it's going to be based on two things. One of those things is love. Love's a great motivator and a reason to be part of something. It's something that keeps people in for the long haul. And the other thing is that we're giving people the opportunity to give what they need to give. So as humans, we're designed to need to give to other people. We are tribal creatures and we have a deep need to contribute, and it's why we've got such a strong volunteer workforce in Australia and around the world. People like to volunteer. So we find out where, I guess, the most potential for love is. So who are the people that are going to be able to be in close relationship with this person? And then we figure out what it is that they want to give. So what's their strength? And that's how we start off building a board. And for sure, there'll come, as you build that group of people and the relationships between that group of people together, because it's also about making sure we're building a group that wants to hang out together. They're looking forward to meetings, and that's part of the reasons they come to, because they feel part of a community where they're having some fun and getting some of their own social needs met. We may recruit people to boards to fill the gaps at times, but that's how we start. And the reason why we start that way is because we want this board to still be going in 20 years' time and 30 years' time, like the boards that are in British Columbia. So that's just something really important to think about. So once we've got those things as our foundation, the three, the holy trinity, if you like, of microboard principles that are not negotiable under any circumstances are self-determination. So it's a supported decision-making structure to put the person in control of their own life. It's person-centred. So person-centred thinking, we may at times use person-centred planning tools, but generally not. Over time, we're just embedding person-centred thinking and planning within the group. They're always focusing on the person's strengths and their wishes and their needs and creative ways to enact those. And the last is reciprocal relationships. So the idea is that the people who are on the board are getting as much of their needs met as the person with a disability is getting their needs met. It's not a charitable model where people come together because they're good folks to give to the vulnerable disabled person. That's not what works here. They're coming in because they've got their own needs, and we find out if being on the microboard is going to fill that person's needs as well.
Okay, so we offer two programs and in developing a microboard, and you can use NDIS funding, and there's on our website it talks about the line items that you can use to pay for this, and how much it costs and how to engage with us. But basically these are the areas that we offer. So you can see up the top we've got Experience a Microboard program, so they're the first 4 blocks, and then the Form a Microboard are the last 3. And those are the topics that we provide help in, and we do this over 12 months, and we use a variety of ways of doing that. So we do, we have some online learning that families can do together with their microboards. We have if we get people in the same area, we'll get them together for some face-to-face workshops too. And we'll also do some individual coaching over the phone or online using Skype or one of those tools. And then once people have done the Experience a Microboard program and the person at the centre of the microboard is keen to actually incorporate and formalise it, and you've done some supported decision-making stuff around that, then we can support you to get incorporated and learn about planning and the roles and responsibilities of being on a microboard. So that's the program that we offer. And so I'll finish up on being brave. So when you're asking people for help, and gather your tribe, and then get that great life, and then you can keep that great life too when you've got your microboard in place. Okay, thank you.